Hello, hello. Dr. Colleen and Dr. Marc from Lifetime Wellness. Welcome to live at 7:05-ish again. Let's start off with, if you are watching this live on Facebook, give us a little wave, let us know you're here, leave a comment. I can't guarantee that we can see it when you do it, but sometimes we can. If you have questions throughout this, definitely post them. If we can't answer them during the live, we'll definitely get right back to them after the live. If you're watching this after the fact, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, make sure wherever you are, you click the subscribe button so you don't miss these videos, these little updates when we do them. On YouTube, I think you ring the little bell so that you get a notification.
Good topic tonight. You're definitely going to want to share this with lots of people.
Yeah, and the question of the day, first of all, please answer with a yes or no in the comments. Do you currently have a bottle of apple cider vinegar in your house? Yes or no? Comment below. You'll find out why.
Affirmative. Yeah.
Okay, so you saw the topic on the description of the live. Tonight we're talking about acid reflux, indigestion, heartburn, GERD, symptoms associated with those things, and what
stomach acid.
Yeah, what they mean, don't mean, and what we can do to help.
So, yeah, we see this a lot, very frequent complaint, especially in our nutritional consultations, and really a lot of our practice members. And many people are taking medications for indigestion or heartburn or acid reflux. There's a few different types, but some common ones that ultimately reduce or decrease your own stomach acid or your ability to produce stomach acid. So we have things like Pepcid, Pepcid AC, Tagamet, Zantac. That's one group of H2 blockers. Probably the most common ones that are taken are proton pump inhibitors. So those are the little cute, animated cartoons that show the little acid pumps, almost like, geysers that are shutting off. So you have Prilosec, Prevacid, Protonix, and Nexium. Really common, it's a generic of Prilosec is omeprazole, so people buy that by the case at Costco. So a lot of people are taking that one. Another one, Prokinetics, Raglan, and your choline. Those do a few things. Apparently they're used to strengthen the esophageal sphincter into the stomach, but also they force the food out of the stomach faster, and that's a big issue we'll talk about tonight. So those are some of the common drugs that people are taking, and a lot of these you can get over the counter now, so people can take at will, whenever, how much, really not regulated that much. And the problem is all of these drugs reduce stomach acid, and it makes sense, right? It burns, right? People have heartburn after a meal, they get the acid reflux, in the middle of the night or things like that, and it's like a volcano feeling in your throat. And so it makes sense. Like we think, okay, yeah, it's acid, it's an acid problem, but the problem is actually too little stomach acid, not too much stomach acid. And let me explain it before you kind of tune out. Let me explain the physiology here, because it's another one of those conditions that's just absolutely treated the wrong way, and people are on these medications for a long period of time, and they never really get better. So let me explain a little bit of what's going on here, and it'll make a little more sense. And the apple cider vinegar will come into this in a simple way. But the way that your stomach works is your stomach needs to be very acidic in order for proper digestion to occur, and to protect us from other things that we might ingest in the food, like bugs, microbes, bacteria, viruses, things like that. But the stomach on a pH scale of 0 to 14, your stomach needs to be around a 2. So very acidic, and there's a purpose for that, and there's a reason for that, and it's multifold, and there's also a number of reasons why people might have a decrease in stomach acid. There's not one cause for it, but the stomach needs to be very acidic to break down proteins and to start digesting your food. It's also designed to stimulate the stomach to maintain a healthy mucous membrane that protects us from the acid. Otherwise it would literally burn a hole through your stomach, and that's what happens when people develop ulcers. They start to get damaged tissue. But within the layers of the stomach lining are cells that are called parietal cells, and they produce something that's called intrinsic factor. So there's a bit of a symphony that occurs in digestion, that there's these signals based on the pH of the stomach to, close the esophageal sphincter. Once the pH hits a certain level, boom, it shuts that, opens the exit sphincter so that food can move on into the small intestines. And that's all regulated via your nervous system and signaling based on the pH of the stomach. So that also signals the parietal cells to make intrinsic factor, which allows you to absorb particularly B12 later on in the small intestines. So a lot of people, you've heard of people having B12 deficiencies and they go get B12 injections. A lot of times it's because they have bad stomach and they're not absorbing B12 later on in the intestines. So there's a number of things that are all at play here. Also, when the stomach secretes stomach acid or hydrochloric acid, it also triggers the dumping of bicarbonate into the bloodstream to keep our blood at an alkaline level. So not having the right stomach acid, your blood can actually start to move into more of an acidic direction. But the process of digestion really starts with the salivary glands, and then we hit the stomach. The stomach acid is what breaks down the food. That's all well and good. Fully digested food then moves on to the small intestines where other enzymes are dumped, and we start to extract the nutrients from everything. Well, if you don't have enough stomach acid, the first thing that can happen a lot of times is that the food will sit in the stomach longer. So for a lot of people, that's that full feeling after a meal. Even an hour later, they're still feeling full. They might have belching and some bloating and things like that. So if the food's in the stomach longer, it's not that you have no stomach acid, just not enough to be efficient. So the food's there longer and churning, and we haven't triggered that closure of the esophageal sphincter. Then now you have the opportunity for food to reflux up, and you can have the GERD symptoms or worse symptoms with acid reflux. So that's all part of just the pH of the stomach. And some of the drugs, the way they work, in addition to just reducing your stomach acid further, which is not a good thing, we want more stomach acid. One of the methods that help reduce acid reflux symptoms is they force the food out of the stomach sooner. So now you have an undigested bolus of food moving into the small intestines, which opens the door for inflammation and gut issues and dysbiosis and other problems. So the dominoes start to fall when that happens. So having a very acidic stomach is critical, and this is implicated in so many conditions and so many illnesses, because it's virtually step one in fueling the body and providing everything it needs. Now, some other things that can contribute to low stomach acid are some nutrient deficiencies. There are some things that are required in order for your body to make stomach acid, and some of those nutrients are things like iodine, zinc, B1, and some other B vitamins, particularly B1. So if you're deficient in any of those, you might not even be able to produce enough stomach acid, and so that's another reason why people have low stomach acid. But the problem is not too much acid. You don't want to be shutting off stomach acid or shutting down those cells that make hydrochloric acid, because the body requires a lot of that. And as that acidic bolus of food hits the small intestines, that triggers your pancreas to neutralize that, and then to dump other digestive enzymes into the small intestines. So again, there's this whole signaling system that happens all the way down through the stomach and into the small intestines and triggering the pancreas, and even things that help the liver function. So we need stomach acid. If you're on these medications, you're not fixing the problem, you're not getting to the source of the problem. And there's some simple things that you can do to start to address it, or even to test it. I don't know that there's a very well-established or very reliable lab test for stomach acid, but a couple things that you can do at home that they're not foolproof, they're not 100%, but can start you down the road of investigating this. And one is doing a simple sodium bicarbonate test, a baking soda test, where you take, when you get up in the morning, and I would suggest doing this on a few different days to see a trend, but just a quarter teaspoon in like 6-8 ounces of water. Have that in the morning first thing before you have anything else, and set a timer and mark down when you first belch after consuming the baking soda, because the reaction in the stomach should create gas to cause you to belch. And if you get to 3 to 5 minutes, if you hit 5-minute mark, you can stop. It's usually an indication. If you've not belched by then, you probably have low stomach acid. Again, it's not a 100% test, but that's an easy one that you can do and do it a few days. Another test that you can do is you can any health food store, and we have similar products here. You can get betaine hydrochloric acid. It's a supplement you can buy. Have a high protein meal, and in the middle of the meal, take 1 capsule of that. If you then start to feel some heartburn issues, you're probably good with stomach acid, because adding that betaine hydrochloride just increase it, and you probably are going to feel a little bit burning. But if you feel nothing different, you go through the meal and nothing changes, that might be an indication that you're low as well. So those are just some things about
Apple cider?
Well, and apple cider vinegar is another. We use this one a lot for people, just as a simple way. There's no downside to this at all. Apple cider vinegar is fantastic for a lot of things in the body. Not just being an acid, but with your meals, you can just take 1 to 2 teaspoons, either just down it in a shot glass, or pour it in some water and just sip that throughout your meal, and that's going to provide good acidity in the stomach to help you break down your meals. And a lot of people swear by that. They come back, they can't believe the difference. These people have been taking omeprazole and Nexium and all these things for a long time, and they can't believe how quickly that helps. That is not going to totally fix the problem. It can help you, and we encourage people to consume apple cider vinegar. Do it daily if you want to, because there's a ton of benefits, and you can do it with your meals to help. Again, there's no downside to that, but it's not going to truly fix the problem. There's some other steps you need to take. But
make sure you get a good quality though too, like the Bragg's formula.
Yeah, definitely
the best.
Organic, and it's got to say on the label in quotes with the mother, and that's the webby kind of.
Makes it look like it's gone bad, but that's actually
it's actually good. It's a fermented product, so it's very good. Yep. And I meant to say this in the beginning here, but pretty common signs of low stomach acid would be gas and belching, after a meal, acid reflux, obviously, some bloating, maybe even cramping, bad breath and bad odor, especially if it's chronic, undigested food in your stools, maybe besides corn. I think everybody's seen that, but. If you have an aversion to meat, maybe you just feel like I can't eat meat because it's the acid that breaks down the protein. So maybe you just have an aversion. You develop an aversion. If you're tired after meals, again, if you're feeling full longer after a meal, you've developed anemias, pernicious anemias, B12 deficiency, weak fingernails, and if you have frequent nausea, if you're always you're not pregnant or something else is going on. If you have frequent nausea, that can also be another sign of low stomach acid.
I'm not sure why he just looked at me like that. We're way
We're
past
not
those
pregnant.
days. And there's some other reasons too why people may have symptoms that we've been discussing. You touched on gut issues because of what shutting down these pumps can do downstream by interfering with the small intestines and creating gut issues. But gut issues in and of themselves can create some of these other symptoms as well. So it's not always an acid issue. Food sensitivities can absolutely create some of these same symptoms. So that's why some of these simple tests like the sodium bicarbonate and the apple cider vinegar, they're totally inexpensive. And especially with apple cider vinegar, it benefits you anyway, so you're gonna benefit somehow from it.
Yeah.
But it's easy to check: is it an acid issue or not? And if it's not, then you can dig a little deeper, right? That's where we get into some of our more comprehensive protocols. But we always ask. I mean, this is how. If you've been around a single length of time, you know that we always encourage you to watch TV commercials with your eyes closed. Ugh. Just listen to what's being said. And listen to, like in the case of these types of medications, drugs that Dr. Marc was talking about, shutting down the pump so that you can continue eating the food that's triggering the problem in the first place is suicidal lifestyle behavior, really, right? You know it's creating a problem. Yes, it tastes good. We all get that. We do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
You don't shut down the pump so that you can continue with that behavior and think that it's going to be okay. So listen to those side effects. Listen to what it can cause, the damage it can cause, but mostly think about what's happening. We're not trying to change physiology. Those pumps are producing acid for a reason. We don't get to come in and change. what they're supposed to do.
And it's also something that, at least what the science shows, is that it naturally declines as we age as well. So it can also just become a problem as you get older. Very easily treated or addressed. But talking about the commercial, I'll never forget Dr. Chestnut, a friend of ours, love this guy to death. Way back in the day, we were going through a conference with him, and he brought this up, and we all, you could see it in your mind. This gentleman's at a carnival or an airport, I think it was an airport maybe, and he's about ready to just down like this big old chili dog, or I forget what it was, like not healthy foods. And they're basically telling you in the commercial that, you know, because of acid reflux, you start to stop eating your favorite foods. So now you can take this little purple pill and eat all the crappy food you want because you're not going to have the indigestion. And his family sees him, you know, off in the distance, you know, buying his food, and they're all running at him like, no, because, you know, they know he's going to have this heartburn issue, but now he can eat, you know, this terribly toxic food because he's not going to have the symptoms anymore. So just take it for what it is. Nonsense commercials, you know, telling you eat whatever you want, just take this pill and you'll feel fine. You're going to pay the piper at some point.
Yeah, and again, if you know us, you know that we have never been about perfection. If you're ever out with us, you know that we don't eat perfectly all the time either. But
she does.
No, I don't. Those types of commercials and the way we're being marketed to from the pharmaceutical companies, just ridiculous. They make you think that you can get away with anything as long as you're taking that drug.
But these are particularly bad because their solution is actually contributing to the problem,
right,
and over time it's going to make you worse. So hopefully you get that understanding of why we need plenty of stomach acid, and we don't want to be shutting those off because it's going to affect things downstream. And so, you know, if you're challenged with this, you've been taking these medications, you're tired of that stuff, or you're tired of suffering with heartburn and GERD, get a hold of us, reach out. We've got some great solutions that can help you actually correct the problem and start living a normal life.
Okay,
so there you have it.
Looks like some people are watching. If anyone left questions, we'll see those after we close out here. And that's it. Let us know if you have questions.
See you
if you
next
watch
week.
this later. We'll see you soon.